Okay. Hi, Donna. Is that you?
Yes, it is.
Great. Okay, we can hear you now. Perfect.
All right.
Okay, and then I think we just need Liana.
I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Yay. We got everybody up and going then. Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you all for joining me. First day of class in the evening. I know everybody's been working and anxious to get home and get meals cooked or dinner or whatever it is that you have going on. So thank you for joining me. I thought it was so important that we have a face-to-face, or not a face-to-face, as close to a face-to-face as we can, to go over some of your practicum information as we progress through. So I thought this would be a good way for us to kind of get to know each other a little bit better and then go over some of the requirements so that there are very few unanswered questions on how we're going to proceed from here. Okay, and so what you're seeing is my desktop from my teaching view. So don't panic if you're not seeing this. It's not the student view, it's the instructor's view. So don't panic because you don't see this in your Blackboard. But I do want to go through a couple of things just to kind of get you oriented with the practicum course on Blackboard and the syllabus and some of the requirements, which I know we're all really ready to get down to the specifics on this. I'm going to ask Sherry, is the audio going okay? Is my audio going okay?
Uh-huh, it sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Um, okay, so let's go through, first of all, let's go through the syllabus. And there's been some changes to the syllabus, so if you have not accessed the syllabus as of lately, you can go ahead and do that because there have been some revisions. So let's just kind of go through this. The very first thing is the required text. And the required text is one of the newer Sattler books, Jerome Sattler, who is really pretty much the guru of cognitive assessments, behavioral assessments, psychoeducational assessments. If you have not heard of Jerome Sattler, I'm pleased that this will be your introduction to him. And I'm actually getting a little bit of feedback. Donna, is it okay if I mute you?
Sure.
Okay, and please, if there's any time that you need to talk, please feel free to just chime in. We're just getting a little bit of background noise.
Okay. No problem.
Okay. Um, okay, so Jerome Sattler textbook, it's one of the newer editions. So if you have not received or ordered this book yet, don't panic. This is the type of book that will make a great addition to your professional library. So it's not something that we need immediately, but it is something that I would like you to have in the next couple of weeks for this class. Again, it might be a little bit pricey, but I promise you this is such a good book that you're going to want to spend the extra money for it and make sure that you have it in addition to some of the other books you want to keep in your professional library. So does anybody have the Sattler text already?
No, I haven't purchased it yet.
Okay. Okay.
I have an assessment of children fifth edition that was Sattler's, but not this particular text.
Okay, great. So you have the fifth edition, which is probably one of my favorite editions. If and I would and that was Brandy, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Brandy, I would tell you to hang on to that one. That was published in 2008. So it was
Correct.
before, it still has references to like the old Wechsler scales, the Kaufman scales, the Woodcock-Johnson assessments. So all of that information on the assessments is pretty out of date and old, but it still has
Right.
so much really good, valuable information in there. Just a little word of caution about Sattler is he writes for clinicians. And so it's very much geared towards clinicians and psychologists and psychiatrists and report writing in that vein. But it does such a great job of covering all the real salient points of assessment. Okay, so if you can go ahead and start working on that and get that textbook ordered. Again, it's going to be more relevant to the second part of your practicum than it is to this first part of your practicum. But I would love to go ahead and get it on board and have that to where we are referencing different parts of the textbook. Okay, and then a lot of this you can read on your own. I'm going to scroll through and just kind of get to the meat of this because I don't want to keep y'all all night in this meeting. So go ahead and read through this. I've added a weekly course kind of schedule here, and it's a pretty generic weekly course schedule. And I kept it that way because I will tell you right now, we are we are being very extremely flexible in this course. Now, there are some things that I call non-negotiables that I will not be flexible with. And I promise you, you will have tons of direction on the ones that that I'm not flexible on. But there's going to be some flexibility because every single one of your practicums are going to be different. The level of support you get is going to be different depending on your site supervisor. The level of resources that you have is going to be different depending on your placement. So I just want you to know that this is not a gotcha course at all. This is a learning course, and I want it to be the richest, most robust experience that you can get without added pressure of, oh, I've got to do this perfectly right, or we have to adhere to this so perfectly. So I want you to know that we're really going to tackle this with a team mentality, and we're going to get you the best possible practical experience in cognitive testing that we can. So read through the first week. Obviously, we've got the mandatory meeting today. And then we're going to go over, I'm going to open up Blackboard in a minute, and we're going to go over all of the required paperwork that you need to submit, what that looks like, where it needs to go, and so on and so forth. This week, I also want you to start having a dialogue, if you have not already, with your site supervisor about approval to use a district's test kits, and you're going to know exactly which ones you're going to need to ask for. Their protocols. If this is a new term to you, protocols are simply response forms. So some tests have student response forms, but all tests pretty much have a response form for the examiner response form. And any of these supplemental things are called protocols, or they're informally referred to as protocols. And we're going to go over protocols a little bit more too. But make sure you ask your site super about the protocols that go with the test kits. Now, school districts have to, in addition to paying thousands of dollars for test kits, they also have to keep replenishing their stock of protocols. And Donna, I'm sure that you know about keeping plenty of protocols in stock because as a director, you're probably responsible for budgeting these items too and making sure that your diagnosticians have plenty of protocol as well.
Right. Yeah. I usually have to make a big order every year.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and they get pricey, they do, and so you've got to really budget for that. So I want everybody to be respectful of your school district's protocol. Some school districts may require you to purchase them, and some of them may not. So we'll have individual dialogues about protocol. I know in the past at USW that they've encouraged students to photocopy the protocol, but I think anymore it's kind of difficult to do that because there are highlighted areas on different protocols. So in some school districts, because of copyright issues, just don't want you doing that. So I want you to have that conversation with your diagnostician or your LSSP or whoever you're working with about the test kits and the protocol that accompany them. And you may say, hey, can I, you may offer some money to them and say, hey, can I give you $5 for the protocol? And usually that's about what, when I have to sell protocol, I try to have enough to where I can give them away to my students. But when I have to do that, I charge, $3-4 for a protocol. So what test kits are you going to need to be asking for, requesting test kits? You're going to need, for this class, you're going to need a WJ4 cognitive assessment. So a WJ4 cognitive assessment, a Woodcock-Johnson test of cognitive abilities. You're also going to need to ask for a WISC-5. A WISC-5. That's a Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children, WISC-5. And then for this course, you're also going to have to administer a preschool assessment. And so I want you to have a dialogue with your diag or your director or whoever it is and secure a preschool assessment. There's a lot of different kinds of preschool assessments that districts use. It can be a Bailey or a Battelle or a WIPSI. It can be a DOS. So on this one right here, I want each of you to send me an email about what your district uses for a preschool assessment. And then I will approve that and we can move forward with it. Okay, so non-negotiables, you have to administer a WJ4, you have to administer a WISC-5, and then you have to administer a preschool assessment. But I want you to tell me what very specific preschool assessment your school district has. And you can do that via email. Any questions so far? Okay, everybody's still there with me though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, so still for this week, we're still going on in this week. So most of this is just going to be submitting paperwork, having a discussion with your site supervisor. And then once you secure these test kits, I need you to start reading the test manuals. So kind of the golden rule of any assessment, it doesn't matter if you're just learning how to administer any type of assessment, or if you've been a diag for 10 years and you're about to administer an assessment that you've never done before, or you just need a refresher on a new update that came out on a test. The golden rule is to always go to the test manuals. Okay, so if you're ever asked on a test or anything, what's the first thing that you're going to do when you are going to administer an assessment that you've never done before? You read the test manuals. And so that's no different from this class. So we're going to kind of treat these test manuals as your textbook reading. Okay, so for the WJ4, for the WISC-5, and for your preschool assessment, you're going to dig out those test manuals and you're going to start reading through those test manuals. Test manuals are wordy, test manuals are technical, but there's also a lot of really, really good information in those test manuals. Okay, so week 1, required reading are the test manuals. And you can start with the WJ, and then you can move to the WISC, and then you can move to your preschool one. Okay, but first and foremost, because your preschool assessment likely may come at the end, really concentrate on the WJ and the WISC. And then discussion board 1, discussion board 1, every week you're going to have a discussion board. And I promise you that you're going to be so consumed with testing and learning these test kits that I'm not going to bombard you with a lot of busy work in this class. I want you to get into the test kits and know the tests frontwards and backwards, and I want all of your energy and your attention to be focused on becoming good examiners, that I'm not going to bother you with a lot of busy work. But the stuff that I do put out there, I really want you to answer, and I really want you to think about, okay, and provide good feedback. And that's not only, as you all have done before, it's not just for me. I know this. I've administered hundreds of examinations and psychoeducational batteries, and I know these frontwards and backwards. This is for each other. This is for us to develop a really good learning community, which you all are so good at. So I'm the facilitator in this, but I really want you all to put out as much as you can on these discussion boards so that we help each other out. But use me as a facilitator for sure. Okay, for week 1, do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you.
No.
Okay. Oh, Donna, I muted you. I'm so sorry. Donna, do you have a way to unmute yourself on your phone or?
Yeah, it lets me click the phone button on the GoToMeeting.
Uh-huh.
And I can mute it and unmute it, it looks like.
Oh, okay. And that's great. And you know what? I'm not hearing any more background noise right now, so you're good. I mean.
Okay. Well, I had the copier on and I turned it off and then I shut it over, so that may have helped.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's so funny. These microphones are so sensitive, it'll pick up anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so week 2.
Dr. Klaus,
Yes,
this is Liana. Sorry. Can I just talk to you, I guess, at some point, because I know I'm in a unique situation?
Of course. Yeah, we can schedule a phone conference either this evening after we finish this or tomorrow or whenever.
Okay, because I'm going to have the test kits sent to me.
Okay, the sooner the better that we can get this going would be good. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's
Thank you.
go ahead and talk. Sure, thank you. Okay, week 2. Week 2 is where we're going to begin assessments. So this is where you are going to actually schedule sessions with your first examinee. Did I just talk over somebody? Are we good? Okay. Week 2 is we're going to start testing. And then it says read designated chapters in Sattler text. And just make sure that you always log into Blackboard, because there are times where I may say just disregard anything referencing the Sattler text at this point. But you will always have a weekly discussion board and you'll always have a weekly quiz. But the Sattler text, I really would rather you concentrate on your test manuals than anything else. So, but we do not administer tests until we have read the test manuals. So you got a lot of reading to do this week and this weekend. If your first examinee that you will have scheduled, if you're administering a WISC to your first examinee, then I would go ahead and start reading that WISC manual first. Okay, so for week 2, your first subject is going to be a school-age child age 7 to 17-11. So preferably a high school student. Again, if you have already set up a time and a date with with some other age child, a preschool child, and you already have that set with mom and dad or caregiver or whoever, send me an email and I will be flexible on some of this. Just communicate with me, please. But the first school-age child, ages 7 to 17-11, is with a preference towards a high school student, is what we're going to be doing that first week or for your first examinee. And then I'm going to let you go ahead and go through the rest of the of this weekly schedule. And that way, if you have any questions on any of those, you can just let me know. But it's a rough estimate of keeping us on track, especially with your examinees, because 8 weeks will come and go before we know it. So I want to maximize all of our time. Okay, so 8 quizzes in this class. Again, they are going to be, it's not busy work. 8 discussions. You're also going to be providing me with a written report of 3 major cognitive assessments. By written report, there's going to be more in Blackboard about this. It's due February 19th. Again, it is in Blackboard, and we're going to go over that in just a minute. But I'm going to give you all the requirements that you need. But basically, in this report, I need you to provide me with things that you can get out of your test manuals. So for the WISC, you're going to tell me what edition it is, what population it was normed on. Why is that important? Why is norm population important? Well, we want to know. Anybody want to answer that? Why is it important for us to know what population an assessment is normed on? Someone give it a stab.
Well, that way you know whether it's standardized or not, and is it going to give you the right information for that age group?
Absolutely.
Is it reliable?
Very good. Y'all are both right. When we see, for example, I've worked a lot along the border schools. And so when I go in and I administer a test to a predominantly Spanish-speaking child who has had very, very little educational experience or opportunity outside of their little village on the border, if I go in with a test that has been normed on 42,000 Anglo ages 17 to 24, and I'm totally exaggerating, but if this test had been standardized or normed on that population, how reliable do you think those results are for my population down close to Mexico?
Your results wouldn't be valid.
No, and so it's good for you to know. Now, is there a lot that we can do about that? No, not really. However, it allows us to interpret with caution. It allows us to say, okay, well, this WISC is really normed on this population of students. So how generalizable are these results to this population that I'm testing, in this tribal school or along the border? So it's very, very eye-opening. So in these reports, I want you to really get into the technical info of these assessments and tell me what ages it's designed for, what subtests are in there, just looking at these tests, okay? And you're going to have more guidance on those through Blackboard, but just know that it's out there, and that is something, because that's going to be a useful tool for you to carry on to next practicum as well. Okay, so when you complete your first assessment, your very first assessment, you and I are going to meet via GoToMeeting. You're going to send me a copy of that protocol, and we're going to go over it together before you get the green light to go to any more assessments. Okay, so I need a copy of the face sheet of your protocol when you finish it. And I want to go over it, and I want your site supervisor to go over it, and I want to make sure that you as a student know how you derive these scores, how these scores are reported, and what they mean. And I have found that the easiest, best, most thorough way to go through this and check for understanding is if we meet one-on-one. And so I always look forward to that, because I see so many times like the light bulb go off, and it's just the best feeling to be a part of that moment too. So a preliminary protocol check, I'm going to depend on each one of you to send me an email and say, guess what, I'm done with my first testing session, let's schedule a meeting. But you don't get the green light to do Examinee 2 until we've checked your first one, because what is the sense in doing 3, 4, 5, 6 different assessments if you've done the first one wrong? So let's make sure that we check that before you go on and you do other assessments.
Now, did you say you wanted a copy of the protocol?
When we do GoToMeeting, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you, kind of like I shared my screen with you, I'm going to be able to see your screen. And so I want you to scan a copy of that front sheet of the protocol so you can share your screen with me, and we can go over
okay.
So I can see exactly if you have the right things in the right places.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, so I have on here 5 cognitive assessments, a total of 5. I know you have 3 examinees. Previously in the practicum, you've been required to do 3. Do 3. A school-aged child, a preschool child, and then I think a middle school aged examinee. What I really want is I want 5 cognitive assessments. I want you to still have your 3 examinees, but for your high school aged examinee, I have a typo right there, I apologize for that. For that high school aged examinee, I want you to do a WISC and a WJ. For the middle school aged examinee, I want you to do a WISC and a WJ, and then just 1 preschool assessment. This way, it gives you more of a varied experience. I will tell you that I have run a DIAG program for 10 years now, and I know that we're 8 weeks here, but typically I have my students do 10 to 12 assessments in a semester, because by the 10th assessment, students are like thinking, you know what, I've got this. I know exactly what subtest comes after digit span. I know exactly what subtests. You learn the assessments just by repetition. It makes me a little nervous to just do 3. And it should make you a little bit nervous too, because honestly, by the time you administer 1, you're just getting going. You're just saying, wow, okay, now I see this 60-minute assessment just took me 90 minutes. I know what I can do better next time and do better next time and do better next time. So it's not um, it's not unrealistic at all. I think it's just going to enhance the learning experience during this practicum. So 5 cognitive assessments, 2 high school aged, 2 middle school aged, and 1 of your preschool, because the preschools are so time consuming. And I think you'll find in your districts, preschool evaluations are typically a team that does these. And if you find that that's the case in your district, please let me know. But usually a team approach, an arena style testing is what we do for preschool kiddos, because we're looking at speech, physical therapy, fine motor skills, cognition, language, all sorts of different things that we need a lot of different people in on. So, but let me know what your district uses after you talk to your diagnostician. And then timely submission of all requested paperwork. That is one thing that I'm a real stickler for. Is if I say something is due and I have not amended that in any way, then it's due on that day. Because as you all know, that timeliness, I always tell my students, we can correct anything by going back to a meeting, but what we cannot ever correct is a missed timeline. Once you miss a timeline, you've missed a timeline. And so it's really, really important for us to be getting into that mindset of, I know I have 5 different evaluations to do. I know I have 6 different reports to write. I know I have 4 different people on my caseload that need attention, and I have 5 transition ARDs. It's all about time management, and it's all about prioritizing. Feed that dog that's nipping you the closest, and that's not the last time you'll hear me say that. But you really, really have to be organized and stay organized with this. Liana said, are we provided a consent form? Yes. And so I'm going to move over to Blackboard. Good question, Liana. I'm going to move over to Blackboard and I'm going to show you. Everybody can read the rest of this, this syllabus. You're going to have some rubrics in here. You're going to have some consent. There's a consent for testing right here. And so, yes, we are going to have consent for testing. Each one of your examinees, if they are under the age of 18, if they are 18, below 18, then I need their parent or their guardian to sign this. So make sure that you read through this. The references to videotaping, please disregard. You can write an NA next to those. Still have the parent kind of initial that, but say NA. We're not going to do any videotaping, and I'm going to explain what we are going to do later. But there's not going to be a requirement for videotaping your testing sessions.
And I'm joining by phone, so can you tell me where I would find that?
Oh, so you're not even looking at a computer, Brandy?
I am at my computer. I am.
Okay.
And right now I have pulled up, I'm assuming it was like part of the materials portion.
Okay. Can everybody
It's
else
at the bottom of the syllabus.
Yeah, we're at the very bottom of the
It's at
syllabus
the bottom. Thank you.
on page 11.
Okay. I'm good now. Thank you.
Okay, good.
I just didn't go down far enough.
Okay, good. I'm sorry about that. For a minute, I thought you weren't able to see anything that I pulled up. So,
No, you're good.
okay, very good. The next one is a grading rubric for your best instrument administration. That one just put on hold right now. That's not necessary right there. And then the rest of your competencies are on page 14 through 16. So you can read through those competencies as well. But the main thing is just going back and looking at that detailed overview of what you're going to be required to do every single week, which is, I know I'm scrolling fast, but it starts right here.
Can I talk with you after this meeting? I have a couple of questions that'll be just specific to myself.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, so any questions on the syllabus? I know I'm giving you guys a whole lot of information right now, but just know that I am completely available as things come up, as we roll along. This is not the last time you're going to hear about this. So I want to be completely accessible to anybody that has questions coming up. So let's go back to Blackboard. And within this syllabus is also the handbook here. So those of you that do not have the handbook for both the practicum and the internship, you can go ahead and access that there, and some of the forms that you're going to need are going to be at the beginning of this handbook. Okay, so required paperwork that we're going to need. Right here you can see this is where I need all of your paperwork uploaded. And it's my understanding that all of the paperwork goes to Melissa Mitchell before you guys are even placed in the practicum. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that everybody has already submitted all of this paperwork to Melissa?
Actually, it was somebody else other than Melissa.
Julie. It was Julie
Yeah.
Hillard, and then she forwarded it to Melissa, is my understanding.
Okay, perfect. So somebody has it somewhere. So what I'm going to see is if we can have maybe a graduate assistant or something upload your form so that y'all don't have to do it again, and that'll just save you that much. But I really do need it in Blackboard just for accountability purposes. I need to have it in here, and that way you guys have it as well if there's something that you need back in here. But your application, your personal data sheet, professional liability insurance, affirmation of ethical conduct, your supervisor agreement form. Last semester, if you had me, you wrote goals. This is where I want you to go ahead and go ahead and retrieve those goals again and upload them here, because we approve those goals, and those are going to give us kind of a guide on where we're going to really target our efforts as far as the first practicum and the second practicum.
Where are we uploading those to?
Right here. Brandy, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you can't see this, we are in the practicum paperwork tab, and towards the bottom, it'll say practicum assessment goals. And you can just upload them.
I don't have the practicum paperwork tab.
I don't either.
Oh, okay. No. It's on my screen that y'all should be seeing. But if you're not seeing my screen, then y'all don't have access to those as a student. I don't open them up till we're done with this meeting.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you will see it. When you do see it, it's under practicum paperwork, and it's down at the bottom. So there's
I don't think I wrote my. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I don't think I wrote my goals in a Word document. I just put them on that test. So how do I receive that?
Oh, okay. We're gonna have to see if we can get y'all access back to that course so that you can grab those and put them in a Word document and upload them.
I may be in the same boat she's in also. This is Brandy.
Okay. Yeah, let's see if we can get y'all access back to that course again. And then that way you all can grab those goals, the revised goals, because I know some of us kind of went back and forth a little bit just getting our goals just right. So we'll work on getting those over there. Okay, and then the next one is a list of assessment supplies. So when you're talking with your diag or your supervisor or whoever, I want you to come up with a list of supplies that you're going to need or equipment that you're going to need before you begin testing. And this can be very informal. I need it very, very informal. It doesn't have to be anything earth-shattering. It can be in an Excel spreadsheet, a Word document. But I need you to upload what test kits you're going to be using and who you're getting them from. I need you to say if the test requires a stopwatch, that maybe you're going to be using your phone stopwatch. If it requires a clipboard, if your site supervisor wants you administering these and learning these tests with a with a clipboard or with a specific color ink or whatever, I want those to be designated in a list of supplies. And then I want you to tell me where you're going to get this. And that way you're prepared before you even begin the assessments. Your diags, some of you have written that you've got mentors who have been testing and who have been doing this for 25 years, who have been doing this for 10 years. Maybe you've been a part of this for the last 8 years, which is all fantastic and great. So I want you to have that conversation with someone who's very seasoned in testing and say, okay, so when you go in and you take your whisk, What else do you take? You need your response form. You need your stimulus book. You need your paper, your clipboard, your stopwatch. So really, really focus on kind of the ancillary things you're going to need for testing. Okay, and then the last thing that you need to do is develop some sort of a projected assessment plan. Go back to the syllabus and see where I have asked you to start examinee 2, start examinee 3. Look at those dates and tell me how you have those lined up. Do you have examinee lined up for, February 12th at 9 p.m. or that Saturday at 2:45? Tell me how you are going to juggle all 5 of these assessments in an 8-week period. So a projected time and date of assessment. When you're doing this, I want you to remember and not get frustrated that the first time you administer an assessment, it's going to take you a lot longer than what it says in the test manual that it's going to take you, because you're flipping through books, you're flipping back and forth papers, you're learning the prompts, you're learning the questions, you're learning how to deal with the manipulatives, you're learning a lot. So don't panic if a 60-minute examination takes you 90 minutes. I hope that you've picked students who are somewhat patient, who be rewarded with tangible rewards if mom and dad or caregiver or whoever says that that's okay. Honestly, sometimes if you have kiddos or grandkids, sometimes those are the best ones that you can bribe into a couple of testing sessions. So I want you to be planful in your assessment schedule. So look back on the syllabus, see when those designated times to start examinee 1, examinee 2, and examinee 3 are, and come up with a tentative schedule of how you're going to do that. All of these things, with the exception of these first ones that you've already turned into Julie, I need you to start working on this week. Work with your site supervisor. So let me just give you a little bit before I ask who has questions. Let me just give you a little bit of how we are making this work. We're making this work because I'm dealing quite a bit with I'm actually relying quite a bit on your site supervisor. On your site supervisor, your mentor, to take you by the hand and show you the correct way to administer these tests. The program that I've been teaching in for 10 years, it's a face-to-face program. And so I have my students right in front of me, and we spend weekends administering these tests. And I sit through hours and hours of test administrations so that I can pick up any kind of miscues, any kind of incorrect queries, any kind of errors with administration of test items. I pick those up and correct them immediately. So y'all have to understand that this is a little bit more hands-off for me than I'm typically comfortable with. But I know that I'm working with 5 extremely intelligent women who are very driven and who have secured some really good mentors. So I'm really relying on communication between me, yourself, and your mentor to really get, because this is really important, you guys. Learning how to be a competent assessor or evaluator is really, really important. And it's especially important for me to feel confident that we're turning out diagnosticians who are going to do a stellar job in getting the most reliable results from student assessments as possible. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So I want to have my hand in this as much as I can, but at the same time, I'm relinquishing a little bit of control on this. So really quick, I forgot to mention that you do not, any of your examinees cannot be anybody that are receiving special education support. They cannot be anybody who has previously been eligible for special education services, and they can't be anybody who is in the pipeline who you might potentially think could be eligible for services. Because what we do is we do an in-service by a disservice by administering these tests when they could potentially be administered to this child for special ed support and services on down the road. We invalidate the results of the tests. So make sure that your students are free and clear of any kind of even close to the special ed eligibility criteria. With that being said, it's almost more difficult to assess students or examinees of average to above average intelligence, which is probably what your examinees are going to be. It's a little bit more difficult. In one way, it gives you more experience because those ceilings are harder for our average to above average intelligence students to get. So instead of ceiling out at item 7, maybe that a learning disabled or a ID child may, if you have an intelligent child who could, go all the way up through the entire subtest questions. So it gives you good testing experience, but it does take you a little bit longer. So just make sure that you choose very selectively who you're going to be evaluating. Also, the second part of this practicum is report writing. So we're going to take the assessment results from this practicum, from your testing, and we're going to roll them over to next semester or the next practicum, and that's where we're going to really, really get into one of my favorite parts of being a diag is the interpretation and the report writing of these results. So we have these great, reliable results. What do they mean? So we get into that second part of it after this one. So make sure that you keep everything, you stay organized. Don't throw anything out. Don't save to an area that you can't get to again. Just make sure, because these examinee results, we're going to have to get info, lots and lots of background info. So make sure that they're accessible again for the next 8 weeks. Okay, so I've talked a whole lot. Y'all chime in with questions that you may have.
There was no practicum prep this time around, right?
I am very, very new to this, and so I'm not sure about the practicum prep. What would that entail, Brandy?
My understanding when I checked, there was no practicum prep. When I looked into it, it was filling out the paperwork that sounds like we've already submitted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To Julie, and that was my understanding. And they gave the handbook that I went through. That's it.
Okay.
Does that help?
That's my understanding of what it was.
I just don't want to make sure that I'm not I'm just feeling like a little bit overwhelmed because the information that I got from Melissa was that no, I would not be near I would only be observing.
You would just be
for this first practicum.
Okay.
And so because I'm having to go through a different school district than my own.
Okay.
I'm going to now need to do an additional background check with this other school district,
okay,
which is the FBI one, and it's going to take 2 weeks.
Okay, so Sherry, because you have a little bit of a different situation, let's you and I talk about it, and we will adapt. If this needs to be your pre-practicum, then we'll adapt it to what we need for you.
Okay.
And if you need a pre-practicum, then I'm more than happy to do that. Was anybody else under that same impression with this practicum, or were y'all thinking that you were going to actually administer assessments?
Well, I know when I asked Melissa, because I wasn't sure the difference between a practicum and an internship, and I think it was her that told me the same thing, that the practicum we watched and the internship we actually administered tests. Okay. But I've administered some standardized tests. I just haven't done these. So, I feel comfortable with going ahead and doing it after reviewing the manuals and going over it with the diagnostician. So, personally, I feel okay with going ahead and testing.
Okay.
I actually do too. I actually feel a little bit better that we're getting our hands into it. I'm just concerned. Well, we'll talk later.
Yeah, and maybe more of the logistic things. And that's one thing with this that okay, so a little bit of the backstory. You guys know that the Ed Diag program has been it's kind of morphed and changed and kind of done its thing for a while. And so this is going to the Diag program is going to be completely revamped starting fall. And that is not to say that anything in the past that was not done well was not done, to the best of everybody's ability. But we're we're not going to have the practicums anymore. This is the last semester that we're going to have the practicums. What we're going to start having is a true IQ testing course. And before you take that IQ testing course, you're going to take an assessment course, kind of what I guess that y'all call the pre-practicum or whatever that is. So that when you get to the IQ testing course, that you guys are 100% confident and that you are testing. But let me do a little bit more digging, and let me make sure that we are that I'm inheriting the right practicum that I was given, and making sure that you guys are okay with testing students at this point with consent and everything. And
I interject?
Sure, of course.
This was Brandy. I had emailed Melissa, and I actually just pulled up her email because I still have it.
Uh-huh.
And basically, because I too was kind of like, well, what's the practicum? Because like Donna, I wasn't sure what the difference between the two were, between a practicum and an internship. And so she stated that that prior to this, that you guys used to mail out the testing kits.
Right.
And so that the way that all of this changes now is that basically we're going to start using our district's testing kits, and that once you've finished like testing, you'll start 300 hours of an internship. Is that still correct?
Yes. Okay. So here's my understanding of the difference between the practicum and the testing course. What they were doing is, because the test kits are very expensive for the university to buy, and to keep maintaining the new editions of them. So the kind of the solution to this was to have students work with their school districts to utilize those test kits, no different than if I sent you the test kit and said, okay, here's our test kit, go forth and test 3 subjects. So basically what the practicum is actually using the school district's test kit under the supervision of the mentor to administer the test for the students to the examinees. So that's and then the difference between the practicum is you're getting real practical experience testing, and then the internship is a required internship where you're logging clock hours in every area. So you're looking at ARD paperwork, you're looking at FIEs, you're looking at FBAs, and you're looking at all areas of being a diagnostician, where the practicum is just basically looking at cognitive assessment. Does that ring true with anybody?
That sounds, pretty much what she said. So yes.
You
reiterated what Melissa said.
Okay, great. Right now, let's stay the course with what we're doing. Sherry, if you feel like this is going to be in some sort of a conflict with what you have with your school district, the one thing that I want to be is very respectful of the boundaries that your school district's put into place. And
Okay.
And we don't want to cross those lines. I don't want to put anybody in an awkward situation or anything. But at the same time, I feel like we're running out of time for you guys to get really good hands-on experience with testing. That shouldn't really be left to your very last semester in your internship. You guys have a lot to learn in your internship and a lot of hours to log, with the kind of the whole role as being a diagnostician. Really, cognitive assessment should be you guys going in and administering assessments with the proper consents and all of that stuff too. So let's do this. I am going to talk to Melissa, and I'm going to talk to Dr. Harris again. And basically at this point, I kind of feel like I know what they're going to tell me, that this is, this is my program, and I can pretty much run it however I want to at this point. And so it'll be up to me to have, a little bit more of a continuing dialogue with each one of you. Donna, I know that you're very confident and you've got great supervision, and I don't think you have any restrictions from your school district. Liana, or Sherry, you said you're confident too, but there's maybe some school district issues in there. Liana, are you feeling confident to go forth and start testing?
I am. I already, got a lot more training and familiarity at UNM. We did all of these assessments last spring.
Okay.
I pulled up an email with Dr. Harris that you were included on in September, and what you're saying is consistent with what Dr. Harris said, that essentially in this first practicum we would review and practice administering the cognitive assessments.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I don't know if that helps you at all.
No, that's perfect. Great. Thank you. Okay. So, and Brandy, how are you feeling about proceeding?
I feel fine. I mean, I honestly thought I was testing, and so I've actually talked with my mentor, and I'm pretty much good to go. I've got like my students or my examinees in line. I just have to figure out dates and things like that.
Awesome. Exactly. Okay. So Sherry, you and I will have a dialogue about how we proceed. And
Okay.
I'm accommodating. I'll do whatever we need to do. But for the other three or four of you, I need you to just again, I want to reiterate the point that you are assessing students under the supervision of your mentor, and you are assessing students with full consent from parents or guardians, and that everybody has to be on board: your school district, the examinee's parents or guardian, and yourself, and then of course that we know exactly what you're doing and who's overseeing these. So as long as we're in the same boat together, then I think we're good.
I think we are.
I'm excited for you guys. I think y'all are ready.
I have one.
Yeah, I'm ready to get my donut, so I'm ready to go.
Great. Okay, did someone else have a question?
I do have one question. This is Brandy. I did order the Sattler's Next text, except for the delivery date is so wishy-washy. I mean, it may not be here till the middle of February. Is that going to be acceptable?
Yes, that's going to be acceptable. You're going to use this book. You're going to definitely use this book during report writing, which is in the next 8 weeks.
Okay.
You'll just have got a jump start on it. So I'm not going to, again, the purpose of this course is I want you all to finish this 8 weeks saying, wow, I got into those test kits. I delivered assessments. I'm feeling really so much better about cognitive assessments. Not so much, wow, I made 100 on that Sattler quiz. So my focus is making sure that you guys walk away from this feeling really confident about assessments. Okay, what other questions?
And we can administer the whisk and the woodcock on the same student, correct?
Yes. Yeah, matter of fact, I would almost kind of prefer that so that you can see consistency in scores, because that's important too. I mean, there'll be times that you get a referral for a student, and maybe you're looking for an ID diagnosis, and you go in there and you take your Woodcock-Johnson and you give a cognitive test, and maybe the full scale IQ comes back as a 76 or a 68 on a WJ4. And you're thinking, that just seems awfully low. It seems awfully low. Maybe you're going to administer and I'm oversimplifying, but maybe you want to administer a whisk. So you take your whisk 5 in there, and you come back and you get a full scale IQ score of a 69. So now you have 2 scores, a 68 and a 69, on some pretty good, reliable assessments. Would you feel comfortable at that point? And I know I'm totally oversimplifying. We don't have adaptive behavior or anything like that. But would you feel pretty good about saying that you have consistency of scores?
Yeah, if both of them were that close.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where, doing the same examinee, you're going to have to reward this person accordingly because they're going to spend a lot of time with you. But you can see a lot by administering two different assessments to the same examinee. So if it's just impossible and someone gets strep throat or or whatever else, then I understand that. Just find somebody else to fill in. Good questions. Anybody else? Okay, so you kind of have your charge now. You know what to do. First and foremost, let's get those paperwork requirements. I'll email Julie and see if there's a GA that can go ahead and upload everybody's practicum paperwork that you've already turned in. We'll try to get that done for you so that you don't have to upload that. If you happen to have saved that to your computer, a scanned copy or whatever, and you want to go ahead and upload it, please feel free to do that. But I will try to get to kind of alleviate that for y'all. Get into the test kits. Start your conversation if you have not already with your mentors. Watch, absorb, and just get in there. Don't overthink getting started. And don't become frustrated because it's going to take you a little bit more time than you had anticipated. Stay the course. Take breaks if you need to take breaks. Tell your kiddo, your examinee, whoever you're assessing, to take breaks and take deep breaths. And more than anything, what I want you all to understand is that I am completely accessible to you all. So if you have a question or you're getting frustrated or you're feeling like you're over your head or you feel like I need to get in my car and drive to your school district and come and see you, I will do that. But you have to communicate with me. That doesn't mean communicate with 5 other people before you communicate with me. I'm super accommodating, I'm super accessible, and I'm flexible for the most part. So please, please, I cannot reiterate enough, stay in communication with me. I'm going to give everybody my cell phone number that does not have it yet. And if you'll be respectful of kind of the time constraints that you would impose on your own students, you text me. Typically, I travel all over the state of Texas, so I am in a lot of different school districts the majority of the time. So texting works best for me instead of phone calls, but I can always call you back. When you text me, make sure that you add what your name is the first time you text me, and I'm happy to communicate that way. So my number is 432-294-1902. If you get stuck on a subtest, if you get stuck wherever, doing whatever, you just send me a text and we'll figure out a time to talk and we'll go from there. Just don't feel like you're alone. I know that you all have great mentors, great supervisors. So on the USW end, I don't want you to feel like you're just kind of out there floundering around. Any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so if at this point, if you don't have any questions, you can go ahead and go forth and assess. And another thing is just keep checking in with Blackboard because I will post updates pretty regularly on Blackboard. So just log in, make it a part of your daily routine, log into Blackboard. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But check your USW mail because anything that I post through Blackboard is automatically tied to that mail. So make sure you stay diligent in checking your email as well. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to meet you all in person. So I've enjoyed our conversation. I know that it's been a long day for everybody. So if you don't have any other questions, you can dismiss yourself. And if you do, let's visit.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your help.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm still on the line.
Okay.
And okay, so I work for Albuquerque Public Schools, and they would not take me for this practicum because I don't attend UNM.
That is so strange.
And and I'm kind of in an issue with them right now because they said, the lady was like, online students, we just find that they don't know enough and they can't really, it takes a lot of work from us. And so I thought, like, well, I could kind of argue my point, or I could just find a different school district because I don't know that I want to work with them. They didn't seem to be helpful at all. So I reached out to Rio Rancho Public Schools, and their lead diagnostician was totally nice and agreed to take me, but they're like super strict on their background check, and my teaching license is older than 2 years, so they were like, well, we need to update these things.
Oh,
And I know, right?
oh,
It only takes 2 weeks, and I will go pay it and do it tomorrow. I'm not at all concerned about getting it done. I know, I feel like I could get a lot of stuff done kind of in between that time, and maybe even watch the diagnostician that's my mentor, watch her kind of administer some of these things.
okay. And they're
But
okay with you observing, though, right? Being in the schools and observing.
they're 100% okay with me observing.
That's awesome.
So they were totally cool with that. But if I can't administer these tests on students that are currently in special education or in the pipeline, now I'm a little worried because I don't work for Rio Rancho, so I'm not even sure how to go about finding those students, or those subjects.
Okay, so what about this? Do you have children of your own?
I have a preschool age child.
Okay, so there's your preschool evaluation.
Sure. Yeah, no, I've got that. And then I know I can get a high schooler and a middle schooler that aren't, but I need to administer these tests with my diagnostician that I'm with.
Well, you need to. I would be okay with you administering the tests without the direct supervision of your mentor, if
Uh-huh.
you spent enough time observing her administering
Okay.
the tests. So if I could get a statement from her saying on, January 31st, Sherry observed a WISC administration or WJ3 administration. If I could
Okay.
get some sort of documentation from her saying that you have, until you get all this other stuff done, um, I would be fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I feel pretty comfortable doing that. Like, those things don't bother me because it would be, I mean, totally easy for me to do this for other kids, and it'll also kind of save me from having to take a ton of time off of work.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you know what would be best case scenario too, really, is if you spent the next, what did you say, 2 weeks
Yeah.
observing? Spend the next 2 weeks observing, getting as much as you can in, and then whatever high school age child that you have, go ahead and start, just kind of start the assessment process after you have some observations under your belt. And then
Okay.
maybe your very last assessment, maybe it's a middle school age child or something, ask your diagnostician if there's a time that you can set up with her to observe at least your very last one.
Okay.
So that,
I know for sure I can get my own child there and have her watch me do that, but the preschool ones,
yeah,
she doesn't even deal with preschool, so that's what's
preschool's a
worrisome.
whole different animal, preschool assessments, and that's why I just require y'all to have one, because most school districts, they either, it's just a more orchestrated effort with ECI, and just it's just different. So I want you to get familiar with those, but I'm not as, kind of,
Concern.
yeah, I'm not as concerned with those. But I really would like her to see at least one of your, 7 through 18-year-old assessments.
Okay.
If we can do that. If not, you said that you are going to be in Rio Rancho.
Yes.
Okay, but you live in Albuquerque.
I live in Albuquerque, yes.
I'm so disappointed. Have you talked to more than one person in Albuquerque?
Yes. Well, there's one person that is in charge of it.
Mm-hmm.
and she is just not nice at all.
That's so sad because they're gonna work their way out of some really good diagnosticians like you. You know, I mean, that's just not what you do when you're trying to build a good team of diagnosticians.
Yeah, they said, we only work with UNM students and we're not, I mean, she didn't outright say that because it's nowhere in there, like anything, it's nowhere in there that they can't take them, but I have a couple of friends that are diags for APS and they're like, yeah, I don't know, really know what to say. She's black and white. If she said no, you're not going to get it.
Wow.
I was pretty
This is
disappointed.
Liana. I'm still on the line. I know that I wanted to try to do some type of experience. It wasn't going to be a full practicum or internship through APS, and they didn't want me to do that either, just because I was in Santa Fe at the Indian school. So I think it's kind of, yeah, exclusive if you're not even part of that district in the first place.
Yeah, so you have to be a part of APS and go to UNM. So
Wow. I,
UNM just unfortunately worked for my schedule.
yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that. I've never heard of school districts. They must just have a huge pool of diags to choose from because most school districts just are like, yeah, you bring the good ones in. That just creates a more robust pool of applicants one of these days. That's too bad. But on the other hand, what a great place Rio Rancho sounds like. I mean,
Yeah, sounds phenomenal. So
yeah,
I'm totally happy about that.
yeah, and let's do anything we can to make that work.
Okay, so I will contact her tomorrow and then I'll just email you exactly what I get from her,
Okay.
and I'll talk and I will see if she has, everything that I need to observe set up for these next 2 weeks, and hopefully she does.
Hopefully she's got some good assessments coming up and you can get in there and observe her testing. That'd be great.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
All right, Sherry, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, Liana, are you still there?
Yes, hi.
Okay, am I saying your name right?
Yes, you are.
All right, very good. Okay,
Okay,
go ahead.
so where do you want to start?
Okay, so you start off and tell me what is most pressing with what you have going on.
Well, last time we spoke, I had a few questions in regards to the actual application,
Okay,
and having been approved for my principal to serve as my supervisor for the two practicums. Since we are kind of our own entity, we are not part of a traditional school district, and there's no one diagnostician that even works with our students.
that's right.
Oftentimes, they're not referred until they go to a middle school. So, I mean, there's a few components on that because I don't have a licensed diagnostician. But then I guess proceeding from there, realistically, some of my testing isn't going to be able to be done on those students because I definitely want to continue to practice administering to high school and middle age students since it's been, since spring semester last year.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what you think. I mean, I'm really comfortable with all of those assessments. I would need more practice with the preschool, just because we looked at them in class, but we never actually had to administer them ourselves other than on adults.
Right.
So,
Okay. So at this point right now, what school
mhm.
what school district are you at?
We're our own entity, so we're a tribally controlled grant school, but we just converted from being controlled by the Bureau of Indian Education in July,
Okay.
so we're not part of a district.
Okay, so what is your
Okay.
school's name?
It's Capo Community School.
Okay. And do they operate under like the New Mexico PED?
No. Like even for our teacher evaluations, they're making it up now and kind of adapting to
Okay.
some of the PED requirements, but it's like literally everything is being developed, whether it's like our grading system or trying to figure out like maps and park assessments, just because it's essentially like one semester into the creation of a new school.
Okay. So you're at a school that's not accredited by PED, but y'all are up and running and doing okay.
Yes.
Who serves, do y'all have a special ed designated special ed population?
We do. I mean, in my opinion, it's not ideal. We do have a small population of
And who
special
serves
ed
those?
students and one special ed teacher.
And okay, so who does the evaluations and stuff on those students?
Normally, I guess they've contracted different diags, but it's been really inconsistent. Like they'll have someone new every time.
Right, okay. So let me see. Okay, let's figure this out. You don't,
And it's even different because they used to work with, I guess, diags associated with the Bureau of Indian Education, but now they don't. So I've been like kind of trying to refer students to go through the SAT process, and they just push it back because I don't think they want to
wow.
even go down that route. They're just like, well, we'll see how they do in middle school. They
Oh,
primarily work with fifth and sixth graders, so
oh.
that's part of the reason I really want to be able to
Yeah, they need
be
you.
a diag to work in this type of environment.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to need some time to think about this because
Okay.
I think we can work it. So, how does your school actually, you've talked to your principal, correct? And he or
Yes.
she has,
Yes.
has said everything's fine. That they've said that they would even serve as your site supervisor, except they're not certified. Is that correct?
Yeah.
They're
My
great.
principal's fully on board. He just wanted me to kind of make sure that he was aware of all the requirements and how he could support me.
I see. Okay. So you just basically need someone to oversee some of your testing.
Yeah.
Is there any school district that's close to you?
Yeah, so it's kind of just been difficult with logistics, but I told this to you. I'm still trying to arrange a meeting this week with the coordinator for special ed and the diagnostician for special ed at the Indian school, and I've worked with them for years in the past to see what they can do
Okay.
to try to support me.
Do you think that you're going to be able to get a meeting with them early this week?
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with them tomorrow.
Can you
They've been busy with trying to figure out map testing, but I'll email them in the morning.
and be aggressive. Be aggressive because
Yeah.
every day that passes is a day less that you have access to just even things like test kits. So what I'm going to try to do is find some online resources for you to start going through and at least start studying the test manuals. Um, so let me see
Okay.
if I can find something
I
with,
mean, I do still have like all of their Xerox copies of the test manuals and my old protocols and all that from the Whisk and Woodcock, so that's an advantage.
but now
Where I can review that.
is that the WJ3 and the Whisk 4?
Yes.
Because we have new ones now, and
Yeah.
I'd really like for y'all to to test on the new ones. However,
Exactly.
if worst comes to worst and you still have those other ones, then yeah, go ahead. I almost think that you can do a what I want you to do is go ahead and go onto, I think SciCorp is the publisher for Whisk. So go on to
Mhm.
SciCorp. Just Google that, PSYCH, and then
Yeah.
yeah, you know where that's at. And then the same thing with the WJ4. And there should be some
Mhm.
good online resources on both of those. So start
Okay.
start kind of digging through that so that you'll become familiar with that test. And then
Mhm.
if you will let me know the outcome of the conversation that you have with the school district that is down the road or whatever. That would be best case scenario. If you could get someone who could oversee a couple of your assessments and you can sit in with those, that would be ideal. And then if we just have
Okay.
someone that will oversee them, then you and I can make up a plan, kind of like Sherry did, if you heard us talking,
Okay.
where you can maybe start testing on your own since you already have previous coursework.
Yeah.
You've already been through this, then maybe there's some modifying that we can do to your schedule.
Yeah. Realistically, I don't, and I've tried to talk to even my principal, I don't think I'm going to be able to get over to the Santa Fe Indian School and like observe the diagnostician administering assessments just because she does that in the morning and I have to be there for instruction every day.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you
but I think
have you checked to see when one of your contract diags are going to be back at the school?
I've asked like her since the summer and they haven't scheduled a single one and there's none planned for anytime soon. So
We have got to find you a diag though to oversee this because um, we've got to find you someone that can oversee at least one test administration. Let me think about it, Liana, okay? Let me see what we
okay.
can. Go ahead.
In the meantime, do you want me to resend you my questions about the application to give you a sense of what I'm uncertain about?
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead and do that. Send me another email, and I'm just looking at some of this, trying to go through this in my mind. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me, how many more courses do you need to be completely finished?
I just need these 2 practicums and the internship.
Okay, so we need to get you through this. And then
Yeah.
I, I may pull your transcript too and see exactly what coursework you had at UNM.
Sure. Do you want me to send you that?
If you have that handy, that would save me a lot of time.
Yeah, I do.
Send me your graduate transcript and let me know. What did you go ahead? Did you finish a master's there? Was it a master's in special ed or something?
No, I have my master's in special ed. I started the certification at UNM,
Hmm.
but then just logistically commuting, and now I work even farther
Yeah.
from Albuquerque, so it just wasn't really realistic.
And how many courses did you take at UNM?
I took 4 with lab,
Okay.
and then, but the University of the Southwest also accepted some of my special ed classes from my master's
Okay. Well,
to
let's do.
transfer over.
Yeah, go ahead and send me a copy of your transcript and let me take a look at those classes that you've,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
let's send me that email and then we'll go to plan B. How's that?
Okay, sounds good, and I'll keep you updated on my meeting.
Yeah, definitely keep me updated and just, try to be as aggressive as you can with just, saying that you have, um, you've got a lot of experience, you've got a lot of coursework behind you, you just need the practical experience. You just need someone to oversee this. So that would
Okay.
be good if that would work out.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and send me that email. We'll talk soon.
I'll do that. Okay, sounds good. Bye-bye.